Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And in today's range report, we're going to be taking a look at a really cool and fascinating pistol, one that has a lot of historical value. Now, if you're a fan of Heckler Koch or HK firearms, you might recognize it. This is the HK4. It was their very first pistol design. It's called the HK4 because it was offered in 4 calibers: 22 long rifle, 25 ACP, 32 ACP, and 380 ACP. And you could interchange these calibers simply by swapping the barrel, the recoil spring, and the magazine. These were initially intended to be civilian pistols. There was 26,550 of them that were manufactured, and the West German Customs Enforcement Agency actually, for a time, adopted these as their service pistol. It is a double-action, single-action pocket pistol that utilizes a straight blowback operation. So this is going to be a really cool one to take to the range and see how it shoots, because HK, honestly, is one of my favorite firearms manufacturers. Now, before we get into this review, there is a huge caveat to this video, and I'm going to spoil something for you because I hope you watch to the end, because what we discover about this pistol I think is really important, especially if you own one or ever plan on getting one in the future. And that is, although this looks like it's in one piece, we had a catastrophic failure at the range. It no longer works. This is not a functioning firearm because now the frame is cracked, because there's an aspect of the design of this gun that I think is a fatal flaw. And as we go through this review, we're going to discover what that is and talk about it. It is something that can be avoided, but you have to be very careful. So I hope you watch to the end. Now, of course, before talking about all of this gun's features and taking it to the range, there's a few people I have to thank. First and foremost is the owner of this cool pistol who lent it to the channel for review. He's a local fan and subscriber named David, and he has been a huge supporter of the Texas Gun Vault. So thank you again, David, for all you do for the Texas Gun Vault community. Of course, I have to thank all of my Patreon supporters, because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I could not create this content without them. And if you want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, there's a link in the description below, and you'll get to see all of these videos early. And of course, I have to give another huge shout out to my primary channel sponsor who provides all of the ammunition for these range reports and makes them financially feasible for me, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And here we are reviewing another historical firearm. And I know if you're interested in guns like this, you have historical guns in your collection. Things like 1911s, Browning High Power, CZ75s, and Beretta 92s, just to name a few. And you might be looking at these guns thinking, heck, I need to upgrade them with a set of custom grips. Well, the grip company you need to check out is Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark, the owner, is an artist and a craftsman. He can apply custom logos, custom engravings, custom textures, finish the grips in a wide variety of colors, create his own laminate woods, and even apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin to make the grips unique and one of a kind. Pretty much anything you can imagine, he can create. So I'm going to put a link to his website in the comment section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. I'm going to ask you to go over there and check out everything he has to offer. And when you place your first order of a set of custom Brownworks grips, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so we definitely have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Heckler Koch HK4. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera. Let's take a closer look at it and go over all of its features and specs. All right, so let's get some close-ups of this historic HK pistol. show you what it looks like. To me, it kind of reminds me of a Walther PPK. But as I said, it was based off of the Mauser HSC. It's considered to be a pocket pistol. It's a little bit smaller than a standard subcompact pistol that you might find today. It is HK's first pistol design. Once again, some of these were chambered in 22 long rifle, 25 ACP, 32 ACP, and 380 ACP. Let's go over its features. I've already mentioned a few of those. It is a double action, single action pistol. It has a slide mounted safety, very much like a Beretta 92. Being a European pistol, it does have a heel magazine release. An interesting feature is the takedown lever is in the trigger guard. Now, I'm not going to take off the slide right now because of the damage that has been done to this gun. If I do that, I might not be able to get the slide back on, but all you would have to do is push this lever down and then the slide would come off the frame. You don't have to pull it back like you do on a Walther PPK. The slide is made of stamped sheet metal. The receiver is made of aluminum. It has a 3.35 inch barrel. It has an overall length of 6.18 inches. It weighs 1.06 pounds. And depending on the caliber it is in, it will either have a 7 or 8 round capacity. Now, I do want to show you the manual of arms with this gun because it's definitely different than many other firearms. You'll notice it does not have a slide stop. And when I pull the slide back, it will lock open on an empty magazine, but it will also lock open on a gun that doesn't have a magazine in it. So it locks back. So since you don't have a slide stop, you might be wondering, how do you close the slide? Well, without the magazine in, most guns, the slide would just go home. In this case, it doesn't, and you have two options. The first way is to simply insert the magazine, and the slide will close. The other way is when the slide is back, you pull the trigger. Now, some people think that might be dangerous, but actually it's not because the hammer remains cocked. So if I insert the magazine, because it does have a magazine safety disconnect, and pull the trigger, you see the hammer will fall. So if I want to close the slide without the magazine inserted, I simply pull the trigger. So getting used to how this gun works is a little bit odd, especially for me, inserting the magazine and having the slide go home. Typically, that's not something that I like. So that's all the features and specs of this pistol. So now I'm going to go ahead and get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge, and hopefully I'll be able to test the trigger out and tell you what it measures at. And of course, before dry firing any pistol we have on the workbench for review, it's important to safety check it. So let's go ahead and drop the magazine, ensure there is no ammunition in it, and of course, pull the slide back and visually inspect the chamber. Now, because this gun has a magazine safety disconnect, I will have to reinsert the magazine. So always make sure the magazine is empty. Let's go ahead and do that. The slide will automatically close. Now I'm going to pull the trigger because I want to show you the double action pull first. And this pull is really heavy, really long. It reminds me of a poor quality double action revolver, and the shoe of this trigger is very curved. And I got kind of fat fingers, and honestly, that is a little bit uncomfortable, but that is a very heavy trigger pull. Now let's take a look at the single action pull. And we have a much shorter take-up. It's very light and smooth, but the break, look at that. It's a little bit gritty. There's some take-up to it. Yeah, it's a little bit mushy. Now let's see what the reset would be like. I'm going to keep that trigger pulled and then put the magazine back in. And our reset is pretty short, and you're back at that kind of gritty take-up. Yeah, it's okay. I guess for a 1960s single action trigger, that's not too bad. And the double action pull is really heavy. So let's go ahead now and get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge and see what it measures at. We're going to start with double action first and clearing all the averages. Hopefully it's not so heavy that it will be off the scale. And our first pull is 9 pounds, 5.2 ounces. 10 pounds, 6.7 ounces. 9 pounds, 1.8 ounces. 11 pounds, 6.5 ounces. And finally, 8 pounds, 9.3 ounces. So we're getting a huge variation in there. And our average is 9 pounds, 12.3 ounces. And I think that's about right. I would say that pull is right around 10 pounds. So now let's try it out in single action. And of course I have to manipulate the gun here to always put it back in single action. Let's clear the averages out again and test it this way. For our first pull in single action, we have 4 pounds, 4.6 ounces. That's actually pretty darn good. 4 pounds, 3.7 ounces. And man, I wish this gun had a slide release or a slide stop. Next pull. 4 pounds, 4.3 ounces. And this is much more consistent than the double action. Four pounds, 0.9 ounces. And finally we have 4 pounds, 6.3 ounces, which gives us an average of 4 pounds, 3.9 ounces. So overall, the single action pull isn't too bad. So that's what the trigger in this HK4 is all about. So now let me go ahead and readjust the camera, and I'll share with you all my thoughts on the things I like and don't like about this pistol before taking it to the range. And as always, before going to the range with any firearm I have into the channel for review, I always like to share with you my thoughts on the things I like and don't like about it, and I always want to start with the positive first. And the first thing I love about this pistol, I think, is self-evident. It is an historical Heckler Koch firearm. Everything they make is collectible. It's desirable. Now, this might not be the best pistol they've ever made or designed, but it was their first. It's the one that started it all, and that is so cool. And from the perspective of a collector, it really fascinates me. I'm also quite impressed with its build quality. Many times when companies build these pocket pistols, they're not built to high standards, but this one really seems to be. Everything about it is solid, but that's what I would expect from a company like HK. And then finally, I'm a huge fan of all of the caliber conversions. And I know the calibers that this can be chambered in might not be super popular today, but I sure wish other companies would follow suit and build guns like this and make it more of a common practice to be able to buy one gun and quickly change calibers and have it all in the box, not have to buy extra things. And I do like that about this design. For me, I think that is very forward thinking. Now, there is one thing about this pistol I don't like, and that is the field stripping procedure, because we do have that lever here in the trigger guard. It's kind of hard and awkward to get to, and when you depress that button, you pull the slide up, not back. And the field stripping procedure for this is also in the gun that succeeded this one, the HK-P9S. And I own one of those, and it's just weird. I always felt like they could have engineered that a little bit better. All right, so now it's time to get this pistol to the range and find out how it shoots. So as always, we're going to start off with the target at 7 yards. I only have one magazine for this gun, and I only have one caliber kit for it. So we're only going to shoot this in .380. So I'm going to put 3 magazines through this for a total of 21 rounds. And we're going to see how this thing shoots, how accurate it is, what the recoil impulse is like, and then we'll come back here to the garage and I'll tell you what I experienced. And it seems like we started off really strong. The first magazine ran great, but the more rounds I put through this, the more issues we had. So is it an ammo problem? Is it a magazine problem? In fact, that's kind of what I thought it was when I was at the range. However, once again, this is kind of a spoiler alert. Something is happening internally that we're going to talk about. But when I was shooting this, I was assuming based off of the types of malfunctions I was seeing, it was either ammo or magazine. So we're just going to continue to shoot this. Now, it seems to be a pretty accurate pistol for a pocket gun. Normally, I don't shoot these tiny guns all that well. I'm also quite happy with the recoil impulse. These straight blowback guns typically can be a little bit snappy, but this one is very comfortable. All right, so now it's time to double the distance of the target. I'm going to put a few more magazines through it. Hopefully, the reliability is going to work itself out because now the gun is being broken in a little bit. So let's go back to the range, put some more rounds through it, and see if we discover anything else about it that I like or don't like, and I'll come back here to the garage and report to you on it. And unfortunately, we're still having some reliability issues. It seems to be failures to feed, so I don't really know what's going on at this point. But it's still shooting pretty accurate for me. It's a pleasant gun. The sights are really, really small. I kind of wish they had a different option for them, but after all, it is a pocket gun. It's designed probably for concealed carry. And also the other thing that's a little bit weird to get used to is having the slide close with the magazine insertion. That is just really weird. Normally I don't like that, but that is the way this gun is intended to be shot. So it's really weird to load the gun that way. It doesn't really feel right. But of course, I'm an American shooter and used to a different manual of arms. All right, so this is a concealed carry gun and designed for civilian use. So if you had one of these, you're of course going to want to know, will it run hollow points? So that's the next test. So let's go back to the range. Let's put a few rounds of hollow points through this and just make sure they feed. And I hope they feed better than the ball ammunition I've been using to this point. And oh no, I think we have a major issue. And this is what I was alluding to in the beginning of this video. Now the slide is grinding. It's really hard to move. And I don't think this is being caused by the ammunition, because even when I removed the magazine, The slide was stuck. It's really hard to move. It feels like it's binding. And so now it's time to take this gun apart and find out what's wrong. So I'm going to adjust the camera now. We're going to talk about what I discovered with this pistol and what I think its big fatal flaw is. And if you're unaware of how this gun works, you might accidentally destroy yours like I destroyed this one. And so now we get to talk about the catastrophic failure and what happened inside this pistol. We also get to see the field strip, and I've had to save it to this point in the video because I'm not sure I can get the gun back together. Let's go ahead and drop the magazine. Of course, ensure there is no ammunition in it. Pull the slide back, visually inspect the chamber. Then I'm going to pull the trigger, which will close the slide. Now I'm going to push that lever right there forward. The slide will move forward and up and off the frame. It's relatively easy. It's just a little bit awkward at first. Let's go ahead and take out the barrel. And if you had a barrel conversion for this, this is how you would change everything out. So you push that forward, lift up, and the recoil spring comes with it. And that's all it takes. And nothing that I've taken off the gun so far is broken. But now let's take a look at the frame. And when I took this apart at the range, I realized something was missing, because I am aware that with these early HK pistols, there is supposed to be a little rubber buffer up here in the front. And it's not there just for a little bit of added protection. It is an intrinsic part to the design, because as this slide reciprocates, if it's not there, you have metal on metal contact and it will chew away the front of the frame. Now, I did inspect this pistol before taking it to the range, and that rubber buffer was there because I knew it was supposed to be there, but it was a 40-year-old buffer, or maybe even older. And firing it that much, it disintegrated. Now, the reason I say this is a fatal flaw to the design is that rubber buffer is not a commonly used piece in many pistols. So if you happen to pick up one of these at a gun show or a gun shop, or maybe you inherited one, you might not know it's supposed to be there, and it might disintegrate on you as well. Or after shooting it enough, it simply wears out, and then you chew away the front of your frame. And because it's not a commonly replaced part in many pistols, I kind of think it's the fatal flaw. Now, of course, many of you are HK collectors and know about that, but I think you have to put yourself in the shoes of other people. And so what I discovered when I took this apart is we had a few things fall off. We have this part right here, which is supposed to go around that rubber buffer, and we have part of the frame that came off, and it goes right there. And yeah, it just got chewed up. When that buffer disintegrated, we had a lot of damage internally, and when these parts got up into the action, it binded everything. And now, because we don't have the complete frame, this gun is not safe to shoot. I think I can get the slide to move a little bit better once I removed all these parts, but it's broken forever. I don't think this is even weldable because it's made of aluminum. So unfortunately, I don't think this gun will ever safely operate again. Now, I am going to run in a few pictures of what this buffer is supposed to look like. For a long time after they discontinued this pistol, you weren't able to get them. But there are a few companies today that manufacture them, and you can get them. And it's really important to know that if you own an HK4 or a P9S, you need to buy these and change them out often. Otherwise, your collectible pistol may be broken. And that is exactly what happened. And as I said, I did inspect it, but I wasn't considering that that buffer might be very, very old, and it disintegrated. And with only a few rounds and not even shooting this gun hard, it destroyed the frame and made it unusable. And once again, that is the fatal flaw, because even if you put in a new buffer in there and you're just at the range, the moment it breaks, there's no real indication, and then just a couple of magazines later, the gun is broken. and might be irreversibly so. So that is the catastrophic failure and the fatal flaw with the HK4. And so that's what I wanted to show you. So now let me readjust the camera and I'll try to put this back together and I'll give you my final thoughts. And so now you know what the fatal flaw is with the Heckler Koch HK4. And while it was a catastrophic failure, it wasn't a spectacular one. It's not like the gun blew up at the range. It's just no longer safe to use and probably won't work. So what are my final thoughts with the HK4? Well, this is definitely a cool and historical pistol. It's so interesting that it has those caliber conversions. And I really thought this review was off to a great start. The recoil impulse seemed pretty light for a straight blowback pistol. It seemed pretty accurate for a gun of this size with those super duper small sights. I thought it was probably going to get a great rating, but then we discovered the fatal flaw, that buffer. And I think it's so important to talk about, and it's why I wanted to document my experiences with it, because although, as I mentioned, many of you know a lot about these pistols, there's a lot of people that don't. What if you inherited this gun? It didn't have any box or any paperwork with it, no owner's manual. And you looked at it and went, hey, it looks like all of the other 380s in my collection, and you took it to the range and then destroyed it like I did. Well, that's what I want to prevent, and why I am totally willing to show you exactly what I did and what I discovered. That buffer is intrinsic to the design. You can't shoot this gun without it. And when this gun went out of production, they weren't making those buffers anymore. Luckily, there's a few companies now that are, so if you have a gun like this, make sure you stock up and you change them often. I might recommend as a collector, you just don't shoot them at all. So I'm really sad that I kind of ruined this one, but in case you're wondering, I did let the owner know and he was totally fine with it. He told me he acquired this in an estate sale, no box, no owner's manual, nothing else, no other caliber conversion kits, and only one magazine, and he bought that estate sale to get another gun. So he was not heartbroken by it, and he was glad I was able to document this for other people. So on my star system, how would I rate the Heckler Koch HK4? Well, I'm not going to give this one a rating. It wouldn't be fair. I'm sad I wasn't able to complete the review. I did inspect the pistol before shooting it, but that buffer disintegrated. So that's all I can tell you. I'm really sad, but I'm glad I got this information out to all of you. So tell me in the comments section below, do you own any of these first generation HK pistols? And did you know about those rubber buffers? And have you ever had any issues with them? So, as always, thanks for watching.